Welcome everyone to our third EAM Experts episode. Today we have one of our experts, Jesús Sifonte, with us, as well as Angel Torres. Today we're going to be talking about reliability in the maintenance world. EAM Experts. In this podcast, we will discuss the latest EAM trends and critical issues in maintenance and asset performance. Together with our expert guest, we will guide you on how to transform your maintenance management into strategic competitive advantages. Join us on live episodes or listen to past broadcasts on any of our platforms. visualk.com, LinkedIn, YouTube, Deezer, Apple Music, and Spotify. Subscribe and enjoy. So Jesus, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you very much, Ernesto, for inviting me today.
Glad to have you here. Yep. So Angel, how are you?
Doing super. Basically, the only reason why I'm here is so that I can learn firsthand from the master.
Oh, okay. So you're taking a free class here.
It's a free class. I just get a front row
So
seat.
you're going to teach us a lot today. So we are all ears to listen to you.
I'll try and sound smart, but I can't promise anything. So let's see what we can do here. So Jesus, you are a consultant, you are teacher, you are a conference speaker, you are a coach. You have created your own RCM-R, which is what exactly?
Well, RCM-R stands for Reliability Center Maintenance Engineer. And as our book title, it implies a reliability center maintenance engineer, a practical optimization of the RCM process with the methodology RCM-R. So it is basically investigated. We dedicated ourselves to investigate how RCM was failing in a couple of companies while implementing it. And we tried to put together a methodology to bridge those gaps. So we could improve in the application of RCM. People tell me, Jesus, have you changed the RCM approach? No, we haven't changed it in any way. So what we did is let's look at the gaps there in trying to implement RCM, and let's try to help the process. Let's try to help the core RCM process with other methodologies, processes, for it to be applied better with better results. Basically, that's what we did with RCM.
Awesome.
Ernesto, if I may.
So you're saying RCM on steroids?
Yeah. So
some people can call it like that. Yeah.
And also what we see with some of our customers is that they typically have a reliability engineer, and then they have the maintenance group, and they don't necessarily talk to each other, right? Typically, the reliability engineer is doing something somewhere else, and the maintenance group is typically using something like our EAM to do their maintenance. So we're very, very much interested in the approach that Jesus and his team are taking in bringing those two worlds together in a very practical way.
You have your own company on RCM. I believe it's called PDM Tech. How many locations you have currently, and what's your scope and what's your reach?
Okay, right now we have offices in Puerto Rico. And it happens that I'm in the Puerto Rican office right now. I haven't been here for almost 18 months.
You're feeling the heat?
Because of the pandemic. Yes, I really feel home. So this is our main office. In here, we have reliability engineers. We have also predictive maintenance technicians. And of course, our administrative staff. We also have an office in Toronto, Canada, which is where I am based. And in Canada, we do more strategic type of work, more consultancy work. So basically we have 2 offices. And from here, from Puerto Rico, we cover the Caribbean area, and we also do some work in the States. We are very involved with the pharmaceutical industry and also with other industries as well. And from Canada, we work more with the international market. So we have done work all the way from North America to Argentina to the tip of South America, and also we have done some work in Europe. That's what we do from Canada, and mostly training, coaching, implementation projects. So that's what we do, all related to reliability, engineering, asset management, and all the way through predictive maintenance.
Awesome. So in terms of Visual K and PDM Tech, what kind of collaborations are being currently underway, and how can we see this happening? We have EAM and RCM. These are 2 different animals, but they can hold hands and go all the way. So Visual K and PDM Tech, and Angel, you can chime in on this one as well if you want. So Jesus, what do you see underway, and then we'll take it over with Angel.
Okay, Angel, I was going to tell you, go ahead and I will follow you, but Ernesto told me to start. So
I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'll just follow
Angel,
you.
I'll just pass the buck to you. You just start from your standpoint, then I will, of course, add something. But all started with a call from us, and we started looking for ways to collaborate, how we can add, more value to our services. And then I will let Angel go ahead and explain, and I will continue. But everything started with a call. We see here some areas for collaboration. We see here that we complement each other very well, and let's see how we can work together. But Angel, please go ahead.
Okay. All right. So from our standpoint, right, solution providers, what we see out in the market is that there are many misconceptions about what RCM is. And also there's really a need for more guidance. If you ask somebody what RCM is, if you ask somebody what the outcome of RCM is, you're going to hear all kinds of different stories. But what we have found is that we can really bring somebody like Jesus and his team into the mix and help us guide our customers in doing that process. So we both have tools that allow you to do some of the activities related to RCM, but finding the exact place or tracing that route and saying, this is where you start and here's how you go about it, is where somebody like Jesus really shines and really helps.
Yeah, thank you, Angel. And I will add to that. Being a maintenance and reliability engineer for so many years in the pharmaceutical industry, and now as a consultant, I always saw that people are not taking advantage of their CMMS system completely. So most of the time when you talk to people, you talk to planners, you talk to people doing day in and day out maintenance work, they take advantage maybe of 15 or 20% of the system capability. And they have so many tools for analysis, but practically standalone. And I saw a tremendous opportunity of uniting the day-to-day work, the day-to-day analysis with, the power, such a powerful tool as CMMS. So together, the first thing we need is data. For doing reliability analysis, you need data. You need good quality data, and you very seldom find it. And sometimes you have to resort to logbooks. You have to resort to places that it is difficult to find data, and the quality of data you find it's not so fine for doing reliability analysis. And it works both ways. Sometimes you have a very good system, but you don't find data to put into the system. So knowing the practices and knowing how to handle the data is like the perfect marriage. You have all the information, you have all the processes, you apply the processes, but you need a system for handling the data, for doing the analysis, for doing the trend analysis, the KPIs, etc. And here is where, if we can say that, as many people do, like theory, and practice go together, and you can bring up to the table what we teach, basically, what we intend to coach, to tell our people how to do. Sometimes you speak to people about failure modes, and okay, you teach them how to produce meaningful failure modes. Now, what do you do with them? Where do you deposit them? Where do you handle them?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of information you can attach to those failure modes, so you can manage. You can do your maintenance management. So, and here is where I see a lot of value in our collaboration, PDM Tech here in Puerto Rico and Canada, working with Visual K.
Awesome. So you mentioned a lot of things here, and I want to go back to some of them. You mentioned when we're talking about plants in maintenance, they use a low percentage of the capacity of that. Do you think that's due to budget or something else that would be causing, kind of being shy in terms of having those tools work for you?
I see a couple of different causes for that. One of them is lack of, let's say, training. Sometimes you have an excellent tool, but you don't have the training or the knowledge to know what type of information I have to populate in my system, what kind of reports I can get from that system. The system can do it. Yes, it can do it. So that's one thing. And so there are many people with lots of experience, of hands-on experience, but sometimes not lots of knowledge, let's say, in maintenance management tools. So here is sometimes, there are very good systems out there, and sometimes the lack of knowledge is one of the, let's say, things that, inhibit them to take the most advantage. Secondly is, I think, culture. Sometimes we are in a very reactive type of culture, and
Right.
we don't see the importance of having good data, the importance of documenting things very well. And you end up, having Ernesto a Porsche, but you always drive it in the first and second shift, and that's it. So you won't develop, very good speed if you don't just use it, with all its capacity. So that's what I see. Lots of, we need Education is first, so we need to have a management that is knowledgeable and what can good information can avail. What can good information
Right.
do for them. And secondly, lack of training. That's basically because many people have CMS. Many people, many companies
Mm-hmm.
have it. But when you audit them, you see that they are not, getting the most out of it, not even half the capacities of it. And
Yep.
I think that if we can have our eyes together, because we can let people understand what's the kind of information is needed, for doing asset management properly, for doing maintenance management properly. And with a good CMS, you can do, very, a lot. You can do a lot. You can help companies to perform a lot better by handling the information the right way.
Yep, and if I may, one of the things that we are trying to do with this podcast is precisely help people understand. For example, when it comes to RCM, perhaps the ultimate question is what is the outcome or outcomes, right? And then understanding in order for you to get to that point or to get there, here's the kind of information. These are the activities that you will need to do, and that will shape a vision, right? But the understanding has to be across the organization, going from upper management all the way down to the people in the field doing the work. So that's one of the reasons why we are bringing Jesus into the mix to help us get the message, spread the message in terms of what is RCM, what is the outcome, how do we get there, and then putting together a map, so to speak, to help people, begin the process. This is not a destination. This is a journey, right?
That's it. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
All right. You mentioned being reactive, and there's a couple of levels. We've spoken about this before. You obviously have your reactive where you fix whatever's broken down, kind of firefighting. Then you can move to some level of preventive maintenance where you have fixing machines under a certain frequency and doing things before a machine breaks down. But also when you're talking about RCM failure codes, you may move into a higher level in the reliability maintenance, where you are talking about condition-based maintenance, and you can even go further down into predictive maintenance. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, you're talking about a strategy. So when you have all sorts of assets, one of the things you do is, of course, we are taking into consideration that already we have upper management
Mm-hmm.
backing us up, with putting together this strategy. Because when the companies that are successful in asset management, you can be sure that all that initiative started, on those levels, at the corporate level. So first thing first, we need to know the assets criticality. So we need to understand how relevant our assets are for attaining goals. And
Jesus,
let's
excuse me. So, do I have to assess all of my assets, or I mean, if I'm an electrical utility with like thousands of assets, how do I get started on that?
You start with systems and subsystems all the way down to individual assets. But you first do the analysis for the bigger systems. So let's say that you have in your facility 6 different type of main systems, and you just order them into criticality for 1 to 6. Then you take the subsystems and all the way down to the
To the asset
units,
level.
to the asset level. But that's a very good question, Angel. So, like, to the subsystem level is very practical to go too. So you at those subsystem level, you understand the criticality of them very well and understand how relevant they are for attaining the company goals. The thing is that even if the systems or the subsystems are classified either A all the way through C, let's say that we have ABC, you may have that some systems, subsystems, components are the same brand name, the same model. So are we have the tendency to treat them all equally. So let's.
I know the answer to this one. It depends on the application. Could be the same thing. Depends on the application, right?
Yeah. There are a couple of things. So we then start copying and paste maintenance plans to similar equipment. So here is where asset criticality, makes a lot of difference. So you won't treat equally a system or an asset in which you depend on, completely for, attain your goals. You won't, do the same treatment to it as a system that is a backup system, that is not that critical. So there is no understanding, generally speaking, that assets are, you apply maintenance to them, the maintenance strategy, applied is with regards to what they do instead of what they are, because you have a pump, you don't have to do all the tasks, to that pump, which is a level A assets, than a pump, which is a level C asset in terms of criticality. So having that strategy in place, doing the right analysis and understanding, Angel, as you said, that this is a never-ending, this is a journey. So the asset criticality today will not be the same in 3 or 4 years. It will change because assets age, because we have a new technology, because we may have a backup system and now we are not that critical because we have we have implemented a couple of projects and now the assets perform better. So this is a kind of dynamic type of thing. So understanding the asset criticality today will help us put together a maintenance strategy. Will also avoid that we do a lot of extra work that it is not needed, that we will add a lot of work. And what else? Angel Ernesto spoke about many things, PM, predictive maintenance, and that is part of the strategy. Then when you have those ABC type of assets, you say, okay, I have the really important guys here. Those are assets A. For those assets, level A, in the upper level, I'll do RCM to them. Because RCM is a process to determine what to do for assets to continue doing or for doing what their owners need them to do under specific operating context. So what is the outcome? What do you receive from what are the deliverables of an RCM analysis? So it is basically 3 things. You receive maintenance tasks. We call it, generally speaking, failure consequence management policies is what you get from an RCM analysis in the form of, first, maintenance tasks. Secondly, redesign, and these redesigns could be machine redesign, but also practices redesigns. You might find that your procedures need to be changed. You might find that you need better tools to perform your work, and you may find too that you need to change some spare parts that are obsolete. You need to upgrade your spare parts, or you need to add, or you need to just modify. Whenever we have a modification, either of machine or of tools or for practices, we call that a redesign. So that's what RCM can do for you, and for as for let's say for the critical assets. In terms of what Ernesto was explaining, predictive, preventive, and so forth, RCM does not rule out anything. So RCM, what it does is really, RCM is really a process for doing a criticality analysis of failure. So we are doing basically that consequence analysis in which we then order all of our possible failures. We call it failure modes, in order of criticality. And according to two things, the first one is the failure physics, how the failures is happening, and also the viability of, it could be economical viability, or it could be a viability to reduce the probability of an accident to occur. According to all those two things, we call it worth doing, and tasks have to be technically feasible and worth doing. According to those two criteria, we then assign tasks. It could be a PDM task, Ernesto, but it also could be a run to failure task to a critical asset, because we are not letting the whole asset to fail. We are letting a non-important failure to happen, which we can handle with a quick replacement. And we are letting things to happen that are not really, meaningful to the company in terms of criticality. So we do the risk analysis, and according to the risk level and the technically feasibility of tasks, we just decide what type of task we apply. In terms of the mix of tasks, the aviation industry in the 70s demonstrated that about 90% of the failures happening to components in motion, like rotating components and so forth, are random type. So they are not, like aged based type of failures. So why then using too much preventative maintenance alone? It doesn't make a lot of sense if many failures of components in motion or rotating components occur randomly or in a mix of random and wear out patterns together. So that's where we use then condition monitoring in the form of predictive maintenance or in the form of non-destructive testing, or also just everything doesn't have to be done with a tool, with a tablet, with the computer. You can also record your process parameters, trend them, and that's also condition monitoring. So basically,
Jesus, question.
Go ahead and help.
So let me step back for a minute. So in terms, I'm trying to visualize how things should work in the sense of how you go about this process. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but first is to determine criticality of your assets and try to focus on the most critical assets, right? And then you start looking at your failures. Now, when it comes to failures, you can, come up with every single thing you can think of and come up with this huge list of failures. Now, in order for our listeners, our viewers to begin the journey, how comprehensive this failure or list of possible failures needs to be in order for you to be successful and begin the process? I know it's not going to be perfect the first time around, but how can they go about looking at the failure codes to begin with?
Can I add to that question before you answer?
Go ahead.
So
go ahead.
Let's put a couple of scenarios there. Like, if I have a new plant with new assets, and then if I'm in an aged plant where I have assets that have their own history, and I'm doing, maybe I'm reactive or I'm at a preventive level, which stage could be better for that, right? Based on how you're operating, is it at any time too late to get into RCM?
Okay, I will just take it by pieces. I like the two questions. I didn't expect less from you guys. You
Can you
always
answer both at the same time? No, no, just kidding.
no,
I
no, no,
mean,
no, no. And you want them in English and
I'll pay
Spanish
for
and
that.
French also at the same time. Okay, okay. Uh, let's go with the Ernesto question on when is the best time to do something to improve our assets. So Ernesto, today is the best time. It depends on the stage of the life cycle of your assets you are at today. So if you
Mhm.
are if you work in an old plant, you have a couple of decades already operating, you are rich of data. You are data rich. So you have a lot of knowledge. You have operational knowledge, you have maintenance knowledge, you have
You
failure
have history.
knowledge. So you have a lot of history. So let's take advantage of that information that you don't have at the very beginning. So there are pros and cons, in any of the life cycle stages. So maybe you say we are very reactive, but let's start from now, and we are going to improve things. We are going to do better if we start doing what we are talking about: ACA, asset critical assessment, RCM. Okay, if the plan is new, you are going to start with the right foot. You are going to do things the right time. You are going to do things right from start, because you are doing criticality, you are doing risk analysis, and before you put your machines to run to work, you know what you're gonna find there, what you could find there, what kind of risks your company is gonna be exposed to. So doing it at the two stages, it is very beneficial. Uh, Best practices says that you have to do it at the very beginning, before even the plant operates. At the project, stage, you should do your criticality analysis, and you should do also your preliminary RCM analysis. But
Mhm.
most of the customers we deal with are already operating plants, isn't it? Angel, they
Yeah.
are,
Right.
aren't they? They are operating plants already, so they
We
are,
we typically get there after a few years. Right now, we only have one like brand new plant on the oil and gas sector, and when they set up their master data, they had this huge collection of assets along with a huge collection of failure codes to go by. So we've been tracking them, and they've been doing a good job of keeping tabs on the work that they're doing. They've done a good job, so they haven't had any major failures, but they are collecting a lot of information.
and I haven't answered the whole question yet. And
No, no, no. I know
you
you.
guys,
You're.
that
I
Yeah.
will let you
you
forget
guys,
I'm
about
sorry
my
to steal your
I know,
thunder.
that you are listening to me to, you're waiting for me to answer the third part of the question, which is what level of detail I have to get to which level of detail. Okay, the good thing about reliability analysis is that we first, before starting to do any analysis, we sort equipment. So we classify equipment A, B, C. And of course, the bigger the risks, the more detailed has to be your analysis.
Mhm.
If you are for your A type of assets, you do RCM. And if we, do it kind of a deep dive into the RCM standard, is the SI J811. It says that you have to basically list all the potential failure modes that your asset may face under the current operating context. But it is not some of the failure modes it encourages you to just list all of the potential failure modes. Anything that is possible is likely to happen. And when what you do afterwards is that you evaluate those failure modes for their effects. So you may maybe list 100 failure modes, 200, 300, but as regards to tasks, maybe you end up like adding tasks for 30% of them, for 50% of them, because you do a failure effects evaluation, which is basically a risk assessment. And then you say, oh, okay, this could happen, but it won't affect me that much. So what you do is that you evaluate risk, and also you evaluate the investment that you do for for taking lowering those risks. And sometimes the risks are so low that just performing a PM, means more risk, more economical, investment that you don't really need. Sometimes maintenance is more expensive than the failure itself, than the failure mode itself. And in such situations, you then can justify running to failure, or sometimes doing nothing, or just sometimes running to failure, but having the spare part and being ready. Besides that, Angel, not all failures can be prevented or predicted. Some failure patterns, are not like predictable, and in such case, it doesn't add any value to just start changing parts, frequently at some point, because their failures don't obey time. And in such cases, you just say, I will let it run to failure, and I will have my spare here, for tackling this type of failure.
So let me see if I got it right. So if let's say that I'm classifying my assets from a criticality standpoint in my A's, my B's, and my C's. What I understood is that for my A's, I need to be very thorough and try to come up with as many possible failure modes as I can come up with.
That
right?
is with RCM.
Okay.
For A-type assets, and you don't have to apply RCM to all of the assets. Let's say I will do RCM just for the A type of assets, and maybe some Bs in the upper part of the Bs, maybe. But let's start with we have the most risk in our company, which is the A type of assets. Of course, B assets and C assets will also have their maintenance plans, their checklist, but you don't have to, develop those maintenance plans with RCM. You can use another approach, which is not that rigorous. And industries like the pharmaceutical industry, in their ISPE standards or recommendations, they say for A assets, use RCM, and A assets and are classified 4 and 5 assets. In the criticality of 1 through 5, those 4, which is the critical and the highly critical, the 5 are bound together as assets, type A assets. For those, you apply RCM. They say for B assets, which are level 3 and 2, you do just a simplified FMEA to put together an analysis. And for C assets, you just do a checklist, or maybe run to failure. But you just do a very evaluation, which is very simple evaluation. And that's the way you treat.
So I guess that the magic happens in you taking the time and having the right tools to analyze your asset registry to come up with your A's. So we don't have a lot of time to go over it, but if our listeners or viewers, they want to learn more about how to do that very first step, which is classifying your assets, what resources do we have that they can go to? Maybe you can talk to some of the resources that you have.
Yeah, we in our RCM-R analysis in our model, we have four sub-processes, and the very first sub-process is the pre-work stage. And in the pre-work stage, you have asset criticality analysis. Then you have, of course, data quality or data integrity. So in our publication, RCM-R, Reliability Center Maintenance Reengineered, Practical Optimization of the RCM Process with RCM-R, you will find some guides on how to do an asset criticality assessment. There is also a book just for asset criticality assessment that we use very often, which is Suzanne's Agreement book, Asset Criticality Assessment, Risk-Based Asset Criticality Assessment is really, updated. It is based on the ISO 55 and the ISO 31,000 standard. So I like it very much, and that's what we use in our practice, in our consultancy. So
by the way, speaking of Susan, I had a chance to get the book and read it, and I mean this in the best possible way. It's not really a book in the sense that it's not that theoretical, but it's very practical. It's really a guide, right?
It's a manual, yes.
It's a manual. You can just flip through the chapters and just go straight into how to do things. So there's a lot of useful information in that. You should check it out.
Yes, and Angel, it's very practical, and since the author has a very good background on both asset and risk management, it is taking the asset criticality assessment to another level. And it is a very good starting point to organizing your asset portfolio with all the players, not only maintenance, with all the players, and then start your strategy, your asset strategy with regards to maintenance, with regards to CMMS, with regards to operations, and so it is a very good place to start.
And it's a really good publication. One of the best things that it has a great preface written by a Mr. Jesús Sifonte, I believe.
Yeah. I had the privilege to read the book before it was published, and I didn't have to do anything, just congratulate Suzanne. So I didn't make any change, just Suzanne, I'm very proud of being your friend. We have been friends for many years. So thank you very much for letting me review your publication before it goes live. And yes, it was a privilege, Angela. I'm really privileged among other consultants that had the opportunity to review that publication. And I use it. It is something that I use, I recommend. And in our classes, in our RCM classes, especially in the advanced classes where we start preparing people for becoming instructors, for becoming practitioners, facilitators, we use that resource. We do the asset criticality assessment as a very good, place to start.
Well, we have to bring Susan into our podcast, so hopefully we can have more people join this conversation.
Jesus, sure. I love your background. Is that a digital one or a real one?
No, it is a real one. I'm here in a conference room in PDM Tech in Puerto Rico. So here is where we deliver our internal and client classes. So, and yeah.
What type of classes do you provide?
Well, we go all the way from maintenance management and reliability classes all the way through predictive maintenance classes. For example, today I'm reviewing all the vibration analysis principles with my technicians. So we have very good technicians with a lot of experience. But anyways, we review with them once in a while, the principles, and let's review. It's like when you get your driving license. So it's good that sometimes you read the manual again, so you can do your signals and you do everything the right way. So here we train our own people frequently, and also customers come up here. They used to come here before the pandemic to get trained. So asset management, predictive maintenance, and maintenance management and reliability. That's what we teach here at PDM.
And anything in between.
Well.
Yep. So, Jesus, thank you for being here. Where can we get more information on those classes and any information that you want to share, where we can reach you and everything else?
Yes. Besides working for PDM Tech Canada and PDM Tech USA, or PDM Tech here in Puerto Rico, I collaborate with, let's say I am the co-owner of Conscious Reliability. And Conscious Reliability is based in Toronto, in Canada. So it is an institution for training, dedicated to training in reliability. We have our own RCM-R type of training, which for different levels. And we have our website, consciousreliability.com. You will find there all the information. We work with many partners globally, and it happens that we are working closely with Visual K also with our classes. You will of course find our classes information there in Visual K's pages. We have been working together since the first time we did something together was in 2015, remember, in a congress. And since then, we have been related to each other, and planning to move forward with very interesting projects, gigs together for the benefit of our clientele.
Yep. Thank you very much, Jesus. I know there's a lot of information we're leaving out of this conversation. By the way, guys, and Jesus mentioned this, these classes are also in our website, visualk.com. You can find that there, as well as this and any other episodes from the podcast. You can find them at visualk.com. Our LinkedIn page, you can find them at our YouTube channel, also on Apple Music, Spotify, and Deezer. So thank you all for joining us. Jesus, it was a very informative conversation. I'm very impressed, and I really appreciate that you made our questions sound smarter than they were. And Angel, it's always a pleasure to have you as well. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. We just started scratching the surface, Ernesto. We have a lot of topics to develop.
There's gonna be a lot of episodes coming from this, right?
Yeah, and hopefully we're gonna have a lot of people enjoy the ride along. So
yep.
Thank you for joining. Take care.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.